How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the 14th edition of the Startup Mac Vlog. I'm McKee Rebel Conwell II, aka Mac. I'm here with my lovely co-host.
Hey everyone, it's Alegado. It's the 14th. That's just pretty insane, actually.
Yeah, we've done 14 of these. Well, I've done 14. You've done
Oh,
13.
I know. Darn it, I've been slacking.
Yes, Miss. I haven't done social media for 3 weeks. Ooh.
Well, okay, just before we actually started, we were talking about things that identify us. And you were saying
Yes.
how, oh, my question was, would you ever shave off your dreads? Because that's pretty drastic for someone that grew it out. But my question was, how long did it take you to grow it out?
So I stopped cutting my hair in 10th grade. So that was 2002.
Gosh.
And I started locking my hair sophomore year, the summer of sophomore year of college. So that was 2006.
So since 2002 or 2006, people like identify you as Mac with dreads.
Yeah, big black guy with dreads. That's about right.
So if you were to shave it off tomorrow, like what would happen?
I don't know. That would be weird. Like I've had locks for so long. Like besides, I love my hair, so it's not happening.
Well, what do you think people's reaction would be? I mean, I would flip out.
I think everybody would flip out because nobody's seen me without locks. Like since high school. Like nobody I've met since high school has seen me without hair.
Yeah, that would be actually pretty weird.
It's like if you shaved all your hair off, would anybody recognize you?
No, I don't think so.
See, there you go. That's my
Yeah.
point exactly.
Well, I mean, like today we're actually talking about personal branding, right?
Yes, so
So
today's episode is going to be about personal branding. For some reason, me and Kay are having a very personal conversation through our personal branding video, but this is cool.
no, but if you think about it, you're branded as a tall black man with dreads.
I am.
That's like branding in itself.
That is
And
part of my identity. This is true.
exactly. So like for me, it would be hence sometimes I have my glasses on and sometimes I don't. But a lot of my business photos actually have me with glasses on. So if I were to not have my glasses on, it'd be kind of weird for people that know me on a business sense. But on a personal sense, I can have it on and off. But that's also a sense of personal branding.
It is. You have to know what it is distinct about yourself and run with that.
But it also, oh, go ahead.
Be comfortable with what makes you distinct and what helps you stand out. Because anything you can do to stand out above the noise, it's always a positive.
But it also takes time, like your dreads.
Yeah, it takes time. Personal branding in general takes time, which we're going to cover today at some point.
Well, right now, actually. So I'm going to ask you, Mac,
Yes.
how is your personal branding and how did it develop on a digital and entrepreneurial sense?
Oh, so personal branding on a digital and entrepreneurial sense. It all happened, like, I didn't realize how much I knew about branding before I started doing it. I didn't realize that there was a lot of things I was doing that was just really smart and had no clue what I was doing. I just thought that this feels right, so this is what I'm going to do, and it all worked out. But for me, my personal branding really was when I first got into the local tech scene and I started going to events. So once you start going to local tech events, everybody, people start to recognize you. So they start to know what you're working on and who you are. So people start to know, like, oh, that's Mac. He's working on giving. He's got a startup. It's a gifting startup. And so that becomes, you as the CEO, especially of an early stage startup where you're the face of your company. Because you're the face of your company, you're also your company's brand. So everywhere you go, you represent your company solely, more so than any of the other founders, because everybody's going to see you out in the open the most. And I took that to heart early on. And so after that, the things I would talk about on Facebook and the things I would tweet became very pointed. I would pretty much, I'd only tweet or Facebook or talk about things that had to do with my business, things that were inspirational, things that I was doing for my business, and then to add a little personal flavor, I talk about sports. And then I don't go too deep into what's going on in my personal life, personal feelings, things like that. I kind of stick to things that are within the realm of what I do, and that over time builds a perception of who you are to people in the digital space that carries over into the real world, which can carry over to helping your company. So the big point about this video is about how your personal brand can strengthen your company's brand. And I noticed that my personal brand is what people recognize when they thought about my company. A great way to think about it is early stage investors, or investors in general, don't invest in the idea, they invest in the people. So they invest in what they think about you, not what they think about your company, because yes, that plays a part, but they invest in what they think about you as a person. So your personal brand can be very, very important.
And how long did your personal brand actually take?
So my personal brand, as far as my startup, was very flukish. It didn't take that long, oddly enough. I got really lucky. So when I first started, I'd only been going to tech events for maybe a month or two, and that's before I realized that the Baltimore tech scene had a full scene, full of events and things. Like there's an event every single day if you wanted to go to one. And so um, I found a group on Facebook where all these major players in the Baltimore tech scene were on, and I put out a post about pitching because I was at a point in my company where we didn't know what to do next, so we figured we need to market to get users, and we needed money to do marketing, so we needed investors. It's a completely wrong way to go about it. I think I talked about this in another vlog, but anyway,
Hmm.
this is the exact wrong way to go about it. It's the wrong way to think. But that's what I was thinking at that point in time, and in order to talk to investors, you need to be able to pitch. I had never done a pitch before. I didn't know how to do a pitch. And I realized the only times you ever pitch are either in front of investors or during a competition. And in no point in time during either one of those interactions is it okay to fail. Like you're there to win. So I needed there to be an event where I could pitch and be comfortable and okay with failing. So I asked everybody on the Facebook group, like, hey, I have a projector. Anybody want to, come to my house and we can practice our pitches and, try to give each other feedback because I want to learn. And that kind of spiraled out into this whole event. We ended up getting space. We had 7 people sign up to pitch. We had about 20 advisors show up to advise people on how their pitches were. And the local newspaper actually picked it up and wrote an article about it. And this is one of my first and early interactions with the local tech scene. So I immediately got put on the front page of the tech scene, and everybody's like, who's this guy? I want to know more. And then that same month, I went to the Tech Breakfast, which is a very, very cool tech show and tell. We've talked about it before on this blog, where I did a show and tell of giving at the time, and it got a lot of interest, and there were a few investors in the room who became interested. And so automatically within like my first real month in the Baltimore tech scene, I became like the local darling, and that was the beginning of my personal brand takeoff. But the brand I built over time beyond that, I had to keep up, and keeping up that brand took a long time. And yeah, when you're doing your personal brand and you're talking about and you're trying to build, you know, you really want to build an audience around you, you know. And so what I did is I would often put a message on Facebook like, hey, 3 o'clock in the morning, still grinding, working to make Giving the best project ever. 5 a.m. just leaving the office in San Francisco, walking back to the house tired. Got my first meeting at 8 o'clock, never stopped grinding. And I would post those kind of messages often, several times a week. And what you realize is that there are people who are watching you. Because when you're on Facebook or Twitter and you have important people who follow you or friend you, or other local entrepreneurs who follow you and friend you, they start to know you as those messages you put out because they see those messages more often than they see you. And it almost starts to feel a little conceited, maybe a little pushy, but when you think about sales, because what you're doing is selling yourself. Sales in itself, like if you meet any great salesperson, they're probably really pushy. They're probably going to run sales down your throat very aggressively, and it works. You know, it works well. I used to get criticized a lot because whenever my startup would get in any kind of press, I would post it myself and like it myself everywhere I could. And people would be like, well, you know, you get better reaction when other people post about you. You know, doing all the self-promotion can come off really pompous, really conceited. And it can be, but thinking like that, you're thinking like a wimp. Don't be a wimp. That's some guy Kawasaki always talks about. When you want to do sales, you need to get pushing and ram sales down people's throats. Don't be a wimp about it. Post on social media as early and often as you possibly can, because the more times people see it, the better chance you're going to get of somebody converting. Same thing happens when you're doing your personal brand. And I'll never forget, I just got into an argument with another entrepreneur about why I shouldn't be posting about my startup being in press, even small press. He's like, you really need to let other people do it. You're really ruining your brand. People hate to see that. And that same day, I had a local investor who's an advisor of mine. Me and him were having a conversation. He's like, yeah, man, we got to link up soon. He's like, I see your posts. You're probably one of the hardest working people here in Baltimore. Keep up the good work. This is an investor, somebody who has leverage, somebody who can really help me out, somebody who could elevate my company. Is telling me that his thoughts around my company, what I do, are based on the presence I have on social media. And that's because I kept pushing that down there. And now, even the people who don't like it all know me for the same thing, as being this startup guy who's a hard worker. Like, that's my brand. I'm the local guy from Baltimore who's a hard worker who will leave for any opportunity but always comes back home because I love Baltimore. That's the brand that I have. That's what people know me for. And that's a powerful thing. Because now, if I ever go to any local investor or any investor who's been following me, they have some kind of thought process about who I am as a person, how hard I work, how hard I keep pushing my company, and as well as how much press we get. Like, all those things come to play. So don't ever be scared to post your own stuff or like your own stuff or tell everybody what you're doing, because those things come back around. Because people remember it. No matter what anybody says, how pompous or conceited it might sound or look like, people remember that stuff.
So you've done a very successful job at doing your personal branding, and I know that you have had a number of teammates underneath you or that works right next to you. Do you kind of feed that off to them to ensure that their personal branding is up to par to you, or like to at least start it? Because if I'm thinking about it, like your Redberry team, they should kind of do exactly the same thing that you are, right? Making sure that they're continuously talking about the company and how they're contributing in the company and talking about each other and kind of like leveraging off of each other.
That's so true, and that's very true. But you find as a CEO, when you become the face of your company, people tend to only want to talk to you. You try to push your other teammates to do the same, but if your teammates, your developer and your designer, they're always working. They'll tell you, like, I don't have time to do that. I have work to do. We got to get this product out. So I try my best whenever I talk to people to mention my teammates, to promote my teammates, to tell people about my teammates. But what you find over time is no matter how much you promote your teammate, you become like the quarterback of your company. And what I mean by that is you get way too much praise when your company does well, and you get all the fault when your company goes bad, because you are the face, you are the go-to person, which is, it's a gift and a curse. It's good and bad. But you do want to make sure that your teammates don't ever feel neglected. You don't ever want to feel your teammates to feel like you're getting bigger than the company, because that's not what it is. You're trying to build the brand while they're working. It's a different job. Part of your job is to make sure everybody knows about your company. It just so happens that people are hearing it from your mouth, so they start to associate the company with you. It's not a knock on your co-founders and your teammates. It's just a factor of what you're doing. And you try to avoid that. Especially for me and my current team, I've told my developer, my designer, like, hey, start doing blogs. Start telling people about the stuff you're working on. Start to position yourself as a subject matter expert in whatever you're working on, especially since we're working with the new technology. Be one of the first to be a subject matter expert. Do talks. to, potentially write a book on this because you're doing it for your project. This way, you can build your brand and make sure there are opportunities for you beyond this startup, because you never know if this startup's going to make it or fail. You want to still create opportunities around all the hard work you're putting in. Because the CEO's building his personal brand, opportunities are going to come. Like, I'm going to get opportunities whether Redberry does great or not, because so many people see me and are going to respect what I'm doing with the company. But I want the same thing for the rest of my team. But they have to do their part too, which doesn't come easy to them because they're not the marketers. They're not the salespeople of the team. They're the ones there to build the products. So I try to push them to do the same as well.
I mean, if I look at it, personal branding pretty much acts as like pretty much a resume, right? So if you put a daily vlog or a weekly vlog, or just even write up 2 blogs a month in terms of what you're working on as a project, your next interview or even your next investor conversation, you can always reference back to them. Like, you can always reference back to say, hey, I actually wrote a blog about this. What are your thoughts? And that actually would increase your personal branding, right?
Exactly. It increases your personal branding as well as strengthens your company's brand. When you have investors who already know and seen your blog, seen your tweets, seen your Facebook statuses, know how hard you work, see your updates on your company, like every other week you're doing product updates, letting people know about the new features, being excited. That stuff builds over time and can become really, really powerful.
I like that.
So, yeah, I think the one thing I really want people to come away with is don't be afraid to be pushy with your personal brand. Don't be afraid to tell people how great you are, how great your team is, and how great your product is. There are going to be some people who are going to disagree and tell you that's not the way you build a brand. But if you've ever met a great salesperson, they're extremely pushy. And they'll tell you that you have to reach out to people 9 to 10 times before you might make that sale. So you might have to tell people about your product 9 or 10 times, or tell people how great you are 9 or 10 times before they actually really hear it. And once they hear it, they remember it. And if you keep telling them, it's going to stay on the forefront of their mind. And that's how you get to a point like where I am, where I took a couple months off, and I wasn't on the forefront of people's mind. I hadn't really talked about what I was doing or what was coming next for me. But as soon as I did, I had such a strong brand in my local community that people remembered me. They remembered what I was about and were instantly interested in what I was doing. And I was able to pick it right back up. That came from building a strong brand. So build a strong brand and be pushy. Don't be a wimp.
On top of being a little pushy, if you're a little hesitant, I just always say, just tell your story. Someone's going to listen.
Great point. There's always somebody to listen.
Yep.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. We'll be back next week. Next week, Kate is going to be leading us on a vlog about social media marketing.
Yes, and how to recover from 3 weeks of not doing any social media.
Yes. Tell us how that goes. Well, I hope everybody has a good day. And if you have any questions, if there's anything you want to know, any startup questions, any ideas for topics we can bring up on this vlog, please email us, tweet us. All our information is on the link below. And we look forward to hearing from you soon. All right. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye, everyone.